Welcome to the Going Yard podcast. Ross Atkins was asleep the whole free agency.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Sending Teo to Seattle.
Tragedy that was the AL wildcard series being swept.
It was 8-1.
That haunted us for a long time. People were like, they're going to make the World Series. This team needs to improve on the pitching aspect of things. You could go into the American education system and talk about that shit for hours, but we're here to talk about baseball.
Yeah. Welcome to the Going Yard podcast. This is the first podcast of this season. Basically, this is a podcast about baseball, and we are a Jays-oriented podcast. But we're not only going to be focusing on Jays, we're going to be focusing all of baseball. And alongside with me, I got Mo Kafafi and Eric Van Rassel, and we're going to be your three hosts, basically for this entire podcast and this entire series for as long as it goes. And honestly, we're just a bunch of college kids that love to be in front of a mic and love to talk sports, primarily in baseball. So with that being said, I'll just introduce everyone. Eric, how's it going?
Good. You, Nick? I'm happy to be here, brother.
Let's go. We're finally doing it, eh?
I know, for real. We've been talking about it for too long, and it's finally happening.
Dude, I'm honestly hyped for this. I'm ready for this just to explode, honestly. We also got Mo Kafafi here. Mo, how's it going, buddy?
Heyo, guys. Thanks for calling me up from the minors. It was a lonely journey down there. I'm stoked to talk shop with guys who actually know what they're talking about. So, guys, let's just make it rain.
Yes, sir.
From the minors? What'd you play? What position?
I was the water boy. Come on now.
Not the bat boy?
Nah, I don't have.
But you
I
have
don't
a
have
bat dog.
I don't have the steady hands to be the bat boy. Not yet, at least.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So since we're a baseball podcast and we're also somewhat of a Jays podcast, let's talk about last season since we're in the off season right now. Eric, what do you really have about some of the what happened after the wild card series there?
Right. So obviously I have, the Jays 92-70 record, second place in the AL East. So an improvement from the 2020-2021 season. Of course, the tragedy that was the AL wildcard series being swept by Seattle after blowing what was it, an 8-1 lead again?
It was 8-1.
Yeah.
8-1.
Just a devastating, really. That haunted us for a long time. The Jays showed improvement from the year before, but not by much. We have to remember the standards that people set for them going into last season. People were predicting them. The MLB was predicting them like top 5 power rankings. People were like, they're going to make the World Series. Obviously, they didn't exceed those expectations. However, it's a young roster, and that's putting a lot of pressure on a lot of young guys. I think clearly there's a bright future for this team. And, I was looking at their stats in the American League. The team finished first in the AL for hits, batting average, on base percentage, slugging percentage, and OPS. They were second in the AL for runs scored and then third in home runs. So the team offensively is a juggernaut. We know that. Everyone knows that this team can hit. But then, as everyone also knows, their pitching is not the best. And you look, it's like in pitching, they were 7th for ERA and earned runs, and then 11th for hits given up as well as home runs. It clearly shows that this team needs to improve on the pitching aspect of things. They were also just 7th in giving up runs in general, so quite a lot of errors in the field as well. It just needs to be better pitching-wise. The hitting, though, of course, is phenomenal. And then just stand out. There were some very big standout players from this year. Alejandro Kirk obviously surprised everyone.
Jesus.
Yeah, batting .285, and 14 home runs. He also only had 58 strikeouts, which was the least out of any Jays player with over 300 plate appearances, and he had 541. For a catcher in today's day, those are very very impressive offensive numbers. Like most catchers nowadays are not putting up those numbers offensively. Of course, Vladdy, he didn't have the year he had from the season before. 32 home runs, 97 ribbies, still great numbers. I think Bichette was the guy who offensively really impressed me this year. 290 average, 93 RBIs, 802 OPS. I mean, he started off the season kind of slow, and he turned it up. Was it August that was the month that he just went absolutely crazy in?
Yeah, it was like end of season, mainly.
Yeah, my only issue with Bo is as a defensive shortstop. I mean, he's not there defensively. 958 fielding percentage as a shortstop, you just can't be doing that. And then pitching wise, obviously Alek Manoah, phenomenal year. AL Cy Young finalist even. Ross Stripling had a great year on the mound. And then, of course, Jordan Romano, their main guy and quite frankly, their only standout guy in the pen. Also a great year with 2.11 ERA, 36 saves.
Yeah, so you guys know, I was at that game, the wild card game. Dude, when it was so good for like the first 5 innings. The boys were mangled off some, I forgot whatever I had, Budweiser, King Cans, whatever it was, man. It was so good. I lost my voice literally in probably the first inning because booing Robbie Ray and like the national anthem, and then you have like a couple beers in you. That's kind of how it's gonna go. But it was going so well, and you mentioned it, like our pitching. It's pretty, like our bullpen especially, really bad. And, I know we were talking about it before, but y'all disagreed with or agreed with me when saying like John Schneider made the worst move probably in Blue Jays history with that.
Oh, yeah.
He should have allowed Gausman to finish off that inning.
I mean, like if you're paying a guy that much money, I mean, how much is he making? Y'all know, like a year? I don't know. A lot.
I think he's making 25 or 26.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Something like that. Like you pay that guy that much money, and it's for certain reasons. It's for when you're in the playoffs and you need the guy to pitch like 105 pitch. He was only at like 95 pitches.
Yeah, he didn't even crack the 100 mark
with 2 outs. And I get it. Like, yeah, he loaded the bases, but then he got like 2 outs right away. Didn't score. He maybe scored 1 run. I don't remember. Or not even. He didn't even score a run. It's like the guy's rolling. Just let him keep, just let him finish the inning at least. And then you throw in a guy like Tim Meza, who just, first pitch was a wild pitch, scores the run. And then the next pitch was a bomb. Like, I don't know, man. Like, if this Jays team is going to do anything going far into the playoffs, it has to be the bullpen, because I personally think that our offense is already set.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The bullpen's been, the team's downfall for the last few seasons, because even their starters, man, like their starters other than Kikuchi were very impressive this year. Like, okay, Barrios didn't have a great ERA. It was above 5, but he still had a 12-7 record. Gausman, like a 3.35 ERA. The starting pitching was great this year. It's obvious the bullpen's the biggest thing that needs to be changed.
Well, saying that though, do you think like Barrios is actually that good though?
No, he had a terrible season. For what he's getting paid, he was not. He was the number 1 starter going in, and he basically was downgraded to the 4th spot because Stripling was great, Manoah was fantastic, and Gausman was a stud.
Yeah.
So Barrios making that type of money, he did not look like he was comfortable being the man, which is fine. We have other guys that can take part, but he needs to have a strong start for this team to be where it needs to be. Coochie is probably the worst signing ever. And he needs to go.
That's the biggest bust, man.
Yeah, I don't have any confidence in him going into this coming season, but he was supposed to be a nice number 5 starter and a lefty to boot, and disappointed the entire way.
So just kicking off that, I guess. Obviously we made we made trades, we made moves. Do you think with what we got so far, like our pitching increased? Because honestly, like what our 5-hole still looking like Kikuchi or Mitch White as our starter, and like
or
like,
Ryu. If
or Ryu
rehab is going as well as they're saying, possibly Ryu won't have him for the opening season, but Ryu coming in maybe midway. That could be like a trade deadline move if Ryu can kind of get back to what he was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he's gonna get to that point again? Because honestly, it's hard for like a pitcher to bounce back. The only pitcher that I saw bounce back like that was like Darvish, really.
But he's more of a spot. He's a spot pitcher, so he doesn't need to. It's not like he's throwing any fire. He doesn't need to throw any flames there. He just needs, if he can spot the ball and be a quality 5 starter, I think that's what we need.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Mo. You know, like he said, he's not a flamethrower. He's not blowing the ball by guys, but he doesn't walk people. He pitches to contact, and he does a good job with that. As long as he's not giving up extra base hits, just a stupid amount, then I absolutely agree. I think that he will take that 5 spot. Kikuchi, I don't know, like what they're going to do with him. If they're just going to put him at a, mid-relief spot or a closing spot. Quite frankly, it might be harsh. If he ends up like doing what he did last season, they should be giving him as little innings as possible. He's like a last resort guy.
Yeah, like kind of that, like we're getting blown out or we're blowing out the team, just put in someone to like not waste an arm kind of.
Exactly.
So I don't know if you guys saw like the projected like rotation. But right now, Chris Bassett is our number 4 pitcher instead of Barrios. Me personally, I think Barrios should be closer to the bottom. Just after the season that he had, and going back to Barrios, honestly, like just talking about his skill wise, I was checking up like his stats like the other day, and like his career stats. He honestly like didn't like his ERA is always high, like every season. His lowest ERA that he ever had in like his career was like 4.23. So like I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's just kind of it's just a projection, right? We didn't even start the season. But looking at it right now, they're also, I've heard rumors, I don't know if you guys heard it too, but we're thinking of getting like Cueto as a 5th starter. What do you guys think about that?
You know what? He had a decent year with Chicago. It's always good to have pitching, right? It's always good to have an abundance of pitching. I just don't think Cueto, is he really better than White / Kikuchi? Who knows, right? Like, it would be worth a shot. You're not going to be paying out the nose for him. It's a cheap deal, and if he doesn't work out, you cut him loose and let him be someone else's problem. So, I just think they should be focusing elsewhere, not on Johnny Cueto.
Yeah,
I just think that like maybe it wouldn't be so bad just because the guy's had experience. He's had that World Series experience, and he's like considered our 5th starter. Is he better than Mitch White? I mean, I think so. Like, if we're looking at it, like, if you had to pick between Mitch White or Johnny Cueto, I think I'd pick Johnny Cueto over Mitch White.
Yeah.
Is there a third option? Because I'd rather have none of them.
Yeah.
Me too, but honestly, Ross Atkins was asleep the whole, like, free agency, And it's like, where the hell was this guy this whole time? But that's up for another discussion. Unless you want to talk about it now, then we can.
Yeah, I think might as well move on to the off-season moves.
I mean, we started off with a downward spiral, sending Teo to Seattle for what's his name, Nick Swanson dinners, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And that blew my mind because I think we were in class, were we not, when this happened?
Yes.
Yeah. We all just like texted each other while like our prof was talking, and we're like, "What just happened?"
We were in P's class, exactly, and I don't know. I understand the logic behind it. Like he's going to be a UFA next season. He's going to want money. You got to pay Bo and Vladdy your cornerstones. But couldn't we have gotten more, or couldn't we have waited to make this deal. I feel like this was a rush panic deal. Like, let's get a guy who's only had one good season in Swanson.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Eric, if you're
I think that I could speak about how bad the moves in general they've made this year, but I absolutely agree, Mo. Like, you look at what Teo has done for the team. Look what he did in the playoffs, man. He did incredible. He obviously was hurt for a lot of the year, but like, come on, man. This guy's done very well in the last few seasons for the Jays. And exactly like you said, you're giving up a guy who I would argue is in his prime right now for, like you said, Mo, a guy who's had one good season. And, you know, that can pay off for sure. But I don't think that this was the time to make that move.
Sorry, I made a mistake. His name's Eric Swanson. That's how much I don't give a damn about him. But it's all about control, right? I think Atkins is always pushing. It's about control. It's about control, which is fine. But I would rather take a chance on Teo mashing it because you know it's going to be a big season for him. It's going to be every time we sign someone on a one-year deal, they just ball out. So I'd rather have that and maybe make a move at the deadline. If we can't agree on something, make a move at the deadline where he's red hot and get more bang for your buck instead of being too hasty and jumping the gun.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, honestly, like, I mean, I get where Ross is coming from because, like, you know, after the wild card series, it was clear that our bullpen was our bullpen's fault, right? So I get it. It's like you're looking for bullpen help, and you look at a guy like Eric Swanson, and his numbers are really good. But to me, a pitcher, it's always a hit or miss the next season. Like, you've seen guys like have great seasons one year, and then the next they're like not the same anymore. So it's hard to take a gamble like that. But I also get where Ross is coming from. But you know, he also made the other move with Chris Bassett, which originally, like, I knew Chris Bassett was good. When I first heard of it, I was like, okay, he'd probably be like a fourth starter. But then you actually like look at his numbers and like what the guy throws like 10 different pitches.
Yeah, he is a very versatile pitcher.
That's insane. Like, I saw like when Gosman like tweeted about it, and he's just like, you know, welcome to the six, and then he's just like, oh, like maybe I'll like he's like, I need to learn like all your other 10 pitches now. I'm like, oh, this guy actually like shoves, you know.
Yeah, I think that was one of the few good moves that they made in the offseason so far, was picking up Bassett.
Agree 100%. He should actually be the number 3. I think when it's all said and done, he will be the 3rd. Barrios will drop to number 4.
Yeah,
because Bassett's that guy that you have your aces 1 and 2, like Manoah and Gosman. Bassett is a completely different pitcher, and that's what you need to shake it up. Because Barrios is more like the aces above, so you need something to like switch it up. So I think he'll be the number 3. Barrio as your number 4, which isn't bad. Having Barrios as a number 4, and then the scraps that we have as your fifth starter, which I'm not. Maybe we just go with the 4-man rotation.
Yeah.
But do you think we should still look for like a 5th starter, or like we should just try and trust Ryu, Kikuchi, and Mitch White?
I think for now we trust in Ryu. You know, we obviously know what he's capable of. We saw what he did in LA. And I think he's still very capable of doing that now. Once he's fully recovered and ready to go, I think he can fully bring it back. Do I think he'll be a guy who's doing that for multiple seasons in a row? Not necessarily, but I think he's a guy that for right now we will be able to rely on.
I would leave it the way it is. Maybe take a chance on a guy like Cueto and see what he does, and then wait for Ryu to come back. And if it sucks, if it's apparent the 5th spot is your Achilles, make a deal at the deadline.
Yeah.
Or a lefty starter. None of this right-handed BS.
That's true too. Maybe a lefty. What happened? What happened to Nate Pearson? The guy had like mono and just never came back.
Yeah, you've brought him up now. I honestly completely forgot.
Yeah, I know. Like, I just remembered it.
Forgot about Pearson. Yeah,
I think you should just focus being a reliever now. It's
yeah.
Like you've had all this hype. We know what you can do, but you can never stay healthy. And how do you prove yourself? By playing. And he doesn't play, so it's kind of hard for him to, for us to see what he's capable of. So make him like what Sanchez was before he became a starter. Make him a long reliever because he's got the arm. The bullpen also needs guys who can throw 100.
Yeah,
they don't have that.
Other than like Romano.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what he had that one season where it was like half a season too, where he was coming out of the bullpen as like a setup man. And honestly, like I like that. Like, like it came close to like 6th, 7th inning, and then you either had when Simber was like better, but like you would either have the option of like putting in Simber or Pearson and then like Romano, or like even if you gave Romano the night off because we were blowing a team out, like you could put in Pearson just to close it out, So I think he'd honestly be a good fit there. I think his like starting dreams are like over unless this guy has a massive comeback. But like, dude, like you missed like what, 2 full seasons almost, and it's like you're running out of time and trust in this team and with the fans,
Yeah. Yeah, and we see what the Jays do in like the minor league system, man. Like they're not afraid to get rid of guys, man. Like they got rid of oh my god, I'm actually forgetting their names now. Like they're Austin Martin.
Yeah,
they got rid of who was the other shortstop prospect? Was it what was his name?
Oh, Grossman.
Groshans.
Yeah, Groshans.
Yeah.
He played third base too. They sent him to Milwaukee.
Yeah, like they're not afraid to get rid of guys in the minors. And to your point, Nick, like Pearson's running out of time unless, and like you said, I think he can't have that mindset of I'm going to be a starter now. He's a young guy who's throwing heat. He's touching 100 easily, and if you're going to keep getting hurt, and you're more prone to be getting hurt when you're throwing that hard. Like I agree, he just needs to be coming in to pitch less innings later in games.
So speaking of like the Jays not really giving a shit about getting rid of their top prospects, like just like how they gave up like Moreno.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Okay, wait. Let's talk about it, because originally, like Mo texted all of us the trade, and at first I'm like, what the fuck did we do? Like, why did we do this? But then like you kind of like take it in a little, and I feel like every Jays fan, like this happened to every Jays fan. It's not bad. It's actually pretty good. Do I think we could have probably got a little bit more considering we gave in Moreno too? Yes. But it's like who else was out there,
Yeah, Mo, do you have anything to say about it?
I really wish this wasn't a desperation trade, because that's what it looks like.
Yeah,
it looks like we lost out on Conforto. We lost out on some of the other big free agents. Who's the guy that stayed with the Mets?
Brandon Nimmo.
Yeah, and Brandon Nimmo. Yeah. We lost out on the key free agents. So Atkins hit the panic button, and Arizona had a plethora of left-handed outfielders. And yes, Varsho, I think he's going to be a stud. Don't get me wrong. Like this guy, he'll have control over him. He can play center field. He can mash.
27 bombs, man. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with the Rogers Center being fixed up, it's a hitter's park. So I think that's going to bode very well for him. But why do we have to give up? I don't mind giving up Moreno, because you have to give up something to get something.
Yeah.
But why Gurriel?
You disagree with that?
What's that?
You disagree with like giving up?
I disagree with what we could have given up. I truly believe it could have been down to a 1-for-1 swap or another player plus Moreno, and keep Gurriel and not sign. Like, I'm not saying to re-sign him because he's going to want to get paid, but he's on a player-friendly contract at like $4.5 million. You have a guy that can play the outfield. He can hit. He hits for contact. And again, he's going to produce. And then, you know what? If you need a big shakeup at the deadline, then send him on his way. But why? I feel like this trade should have been bigger than what it really was. Maybe there was a pitcher on that team we could have taken as well. Make it a bigger blockbuster deal instead of the 2-for-1.
Yeah, okay. I thought we were at least gonna get like a pitcher out of it, like a bullpen pitcher, not something like super great, but a pitcher at least. But I do think that Varsho is way better than Gurriel.
He is.
I do think that.
I'm not in disagreement with that. Yeah. It's a lefty bat. He's 26 years old. Mm-hmm. He can probably, if you really wanted to shake things up, put him in the number 2 hole after Springer. Make that lineup very interesting and drop everyone else down. He can play catcher too, which is a bonus.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I don't think he's going to, but he can if you're desperate. I just think this was a panic trade, and it really could have been thought over a lot better. And Atkins just said, well, if I don't do anything now, I'm going to be ridiculed and public enemy number 1 in Toronto. So I'm going to make this deal. I don't agree with the building block and all the pieces that are all involved in this deal. I think it was a very panic move on their part.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I personally think that you're right in the sense of it should have been a 1-for-1, just Moreno and not Gurriel. And, you know, I might be like moving on a little bit here, but I'm kind of like the Kiermaier signing, in my opinion, also like why? If you don't get rid of Gurriel, you keep Gurriel, you have Varsho, is it? Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah, Varsho, and then Springer in the outfield. Kiermaier, yes, the guy defensively, he's a wall, but this guy bats sub 200. He doesn't get on base, and, you know, you're getting rid of a guy like Gurriel who batted 291 and had a 3.43 on base percentage. You're getting rid of him, and you're getting a Kiermaier who is, I think he had like a 140 batting average this season, something stinky. Like,
well, the thing is though, I don't know if you guys heard, like, apparently he was saying, like, he was talking about that, and he was saying like how he actually, like, he had surgery on his hip. That's why he couldn't swing like to his fullest. But you know, it could be an excuse. It could be whatever. But considering that if he did get surgery and got it fixed, he was back then a contact hitter, right? He wasn't a guy that hit for power. He could sometimes hit home runs. But like, if he's back to the way that he was before, he'll definitely be a better hitter than Gurriel, in my opinion. Consider from last year, like, you look at Gurriel's numbers, the guy only had like 5 home runs?
Yeah, five home runs, 52 ribbies.
Yeah. So it's like, if Kiermaier gets back to how he was, and if he is claiming that, you know, he was hurt and whatever, and that he's good now, which I'm hoping that that's true, then I feel like we actually, like, will have a better, like, you know, offense. Because a lot of the guys on our team right now, they all literally just try to hit bombs, and then what does that relate to when you don't? A strikeout, right? If you got guys that just hit for contact, which I think we need to start doing, like, just get on base and keep scoring. That's literally how we scored 8 runs in the wild card series. I think we'll be fine. But, you know, I kind of like that move though.
I like the player. Like, I like the player we received. I think we got the best player in the deal, which is usually with the trade. I just don't like the premise of it, the setup of it. This could have been a bigger trade. It could have been. I think it could have been manifested a lot better. It's just this was a panic move. Once Conforto said,
I agree with you that
they went and grabbed Varsho. And the crazy thing is, he's not even the best outfielder on that team.
No.
Arizona is stacked in the outfield with lefty young guns, and Varsho is the oldest one out of the big 3. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a great. We need a lefty bat. Let's be real.
Yes. Oh, no doubt.
Right-handed heavy. And moving on to the Kiermaier signing. I like the signing for the defensive purposes.
Of course.
I also like another lefty bat, but he should be the 4th outfielder. That's why I'm saying, why throw in Gurriel when maybe we could have given something else away and have our 4 outfielders that way, and put Springer at DH sometimes, Because if you had Gurriel in left, or you can move him to right, have Varsho in left, and have Kiermaier in center, that's a hell of a defensive team. Like we need defense. Like let's be real. We can't have Bo trying to play center field. No, not gonna work.
No.
So it's great in that aspect, but I don't know, man. Like I just feel this was a panic move, and I mean I'm glad Kiermaier's on the team. I'd rather have him over Tapia. I think Tapia sucks donkey balls big time. So I mean there are improvements there, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what this Jays team looks like in the summer.
Did you guys see the projected lineup for next year though, or hear about it?
No, I haven't seen it.
So, I mean, I have an idea of what it's going to be. Like Eric, what did you hear?
Oh, I haven't heard anything.
Oh, sorry, not Eric. Nick, sorry.
Oh yeah, no. So there was literally a screenshot because I was just on YouTube, and then the guys at MLB Network were talking about it, and then so right now, obviously, I'm just gonna say the names from 1 to 9, but obviously you got George leading off, Bo second, Vladdy third, fourth Alejandro Kirk, 5 Chapman, 6 Varsho, 7 Jansen, 8 Whit Merrifield, and 9 Kevin Kiermaier.
So is Espinal not starting?
Honestly, I think Whit should start over Espinal. I don't know if that's just me. What do you guys think about that?
No, I think so too.
I agree as well. Yeah.
Because you saw Whit when that time when I think it was Espinal hurt, and then Whit was playing 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
The guy started heating up.
Yeah, he was
and then
on a tear.
Yeah, people were like, "Where did this come from?" And then you're saying well, what do you talk about? The guy was a starter in KC. He was how many time All-Star with KC, and it's obviously you take a star like that, you trade him to a team, and then you make him sit on the bench. Yeah, obviously when he comes up for 1 or 2 at bats, he's gonna be shit because he hasn't been playing for weeks.
Yeah.
But then you give the guy the fielding time, he's gonna produce, And I guess it goes 2 ways too, because it's at the beginning of the season, Espinal was on a tear too, right?
Yeah.
But then it's just then he started cooling off, and then you waited too long to put in Merrifield. Well, Merrifield got traded in, but you know what I'm saying? When he was already cooling off and Merrifield was on the team, it's that's when you make the switch, And right. Especially with more of that older experience type player, I think it just works out better for Toronto. And I think right now, looking at the moves that they did, don't forget they made a big signing with Don Mattingly.
Yeah.
Big Don. The guy is he's one of those coaches where he's not head coach, but bench coach. He's one of those guys that doesn't fuck around. He's kind of like that old school coach. And a lot of people are saying you look at this lineup now, a lot of those Dominican players are gone, and it's just kind of that whole fun. A lot of people disagree with them when they're getting blown out by 8. And they're all still dancing and smiling and having fun, and you'll get a lot of people saying why are they even doing that, and you'll get mixed emotions of people saying oh, would you rather be down and upset about losing or still have fun? And it's I agree with both, but if you're getting killed and it's getting close to crunch time, it's you can't be fucking around, because then that just goes into the next game kind of oh, it's whatever, and it's going back to that wild card series. That's what happened, And then when momentum shifted, they were screwed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, honestly, having a guy like Don Mattingly, I think he'll help them. And it's he went to the Marlins, and then they went to the postseason for the first time in how many years, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a big impact, and especially with the guys that they're picking up, I think there's going to be a shift in vibes, I guess you would want to say, with that team. But I think it's going to be good for the team, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's. Again, I spoke about it earlier, in the Blue Jays, they're a very young roster, right? And I'll say that's maybe another good thing about picking up a guy like Kiermaier is he's a little older, he's more mature, he has experience in the league, and I think that you get all the young guys, and it just stuff gets to their head. They're too loose sometimes, maybe, and then sometimes maybe they're just too. They're too tight almost. I know I'm Mo. I'm surprised you didn't make an innuendo there.
I said it in my head.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
Yeah. But
that's what sound effects are for, boys. I got the Michael Scott.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I think I think a guy like Mattingly will be very good for a young roster like this. I think, like you said, Nick, he'll make sure in crunch time that they're not fucking around, but at the same time they're not too like tightened up either, whatever.
Yeah, no, and I think like I personally think this will be good for the Jays. Like this all started when Charlie Montoya was on the team. You didn't really see this with John Gibbons, because it's like, why do you think we went so far? I fucking love Gibby, man. I fucking loved him.
Gibby's only good though when it's a veteran team. You could tell like he doesn't want to deal with youngsters, so that's why Gibby was perfect. He just let the team like, all right, guys, go do your thing. Like,
But the thing is that like if he was with this team now, though, like, do you think all that fucking around would have happened though?
I don't think he would have the room. He's an old school guy.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, right. But like, would the play be different, do you think? Like in the players?
No, they would still mash, because what did the 2015, 2016 teams do? Mash.
Yeah.
That's all they did, right? And that's why we lost, because all we could do was mash. We didn't have small ball.
Yeah.
So I think Gibby likes older guys, man. Gibby doesn't have time for youngsters.
Yeah. No, it's true. But that's why I'm glad that Mattingly's here now, because I think he'll try and turn that and bring that vibe back. And you look at the guys that we have, yeah, it's more like vets are coming in now. So I honestly think that'll be good for the Jays.
I do too. Before we go on to like the MLB off season, what grade do you give the Jays thus far with the off season moves?
I'll give a C+.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the same thing, maybe a B-. It's not horrible. I'm still looking forward to the season. It's not like we're like tanking or anything, but like, it's not great. What about you?
I give it a C. It's average right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. A lot of people had different speculations, like how we thought we were going to go to the fucking World Series last year.
No pun intended. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess we've been talking about the Jays for a while. What about like some of the like other biggest moves right now in just the entire MLB? Like Rafi Devers just signed. What was it, like 11 years?
331 million, I think it was.
Yeah. So it's like, it's pretty clear that he's probably going to be their franchise player, and they're going to lean off towards him.
Yeah.
Who else did Boston? They got like what?
Boston
Turner?
got Kluber and Justin Turner.
So they're going for like more vets too, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, like, because Justin Turner, he was getting booted out by basically. Wait, who was the replacement? Didn't they sign someone or no?
The Dodgers signed Martinez and Syndergaard. JD Martinez.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. I think like Justin Turner wasn't even getting like playing time. Actually, I think he was just like riding the bench.
I do. Yeah. I don't think he had a great season with the Dodgers.
Yeah. I know like a lot of Red Sox fans wanted Rafi to stay. Like that was like, because after JD left, right? They were kind of like saying, "What the hell is happening?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Luke's getting a kick out of this right now. I don't know. We need to get Luke on here one time. Get him how he's doing.
No Red Sox fans.
No Red Sox fans. But maybe after a Red Sox game, when we sweep them again, we'll here and see how he's feeling. But and then obviously you got like Aaron Judge, who stayed.
Yeah.
I think I heard something like the Padres actually offered him more, but to him, like what mattered most was like more of like his legacy and like how he wanted his name to be like, because like he got offered the captain, right?
Yeah.
So obviously to him, it didn't matter much about like money, more so just like what team is gonna have more of an impact on his name, which I respect, honestly.
I respect that as well. I also think that he probably thinks that the Yankees have a better chance at maybe the World Series, which, like, don't get me wrong, the Padres are almost like a super team in the MLB with like the guys that they have. And it's like guys like Soto he kind of had a bad season last year. Tatis was obviously hurt for a lot of it, but yeah, I agree, Nick. I think if someone like him, an impact guy for the Yankees, moved to San Diego, I would have put a shit ton of money on San Diego winning the World Series if a guy like him went there. So I do agree that I think what he did was an admirable thing to do. He wants to keep his name, stay in New York. And I hate the Yankees, so I don't like that he did. But I obviously do respect him as a player a lot in that sense. You know, he's not like a man who's just, you know.
I mean, the guy's just super humble. Like, you can't hate the guy. Like, he's not like, you know, like KD or anything where he took his talents to a better team. It's like, no, the guy just loves the game. He's good at the game, and, you know, doesn't want it in for money. He's still gonna get paid a shit ton, you know. So it's just like, what difference does it make? And it's like, dude, the Padres honestly are like, they're one of those like overhyped teams in my opinion.
Really?
Know? Like, well, it's just like you look at the guys that they had, and then what was it like last year when everyone's healthy and before like Tatis was on roids? It's like they still didn't even make the playoffs, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, to me, it's like that team is just full of ego. Like, you got Manny Machado, Tatis, and
Soto
now. It's just like those are just all guys that want to be number one. And I get like, yeah.
They just signed they signed Bogarts.
Oh yeah, Bogarts too. I forgot about that. But didn't he sign like a big one too?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
13 years or something, or 11. I don't know, around there. Another big one that's being tossed around is Carlos Correa. The guy,
is that even official now? Because
I don't know.
Mets are
like,
worried about that, and even going further with the Mets, they're spending, like getting Verlander.
Yeah.
And for one, they're going to start needing Metamucil on their diet, because all those old fucks, man, in the rotation, it's going to be on the menu every day. They should be sponsored by Metamucil, actually.
They're gonna have to deal with Kate Upton's shit in the crowd now too.
Yeah. Kate Upton. Yeah, honestly though, like the guy went to San Fran, and then I remember just like I woke up and I was with my girlfriend, and then I woke up and I just checked my phone, and then I see like Correa to the Mets, and then I'm like,
yeah,
wait, what? And then I'm just like, what? Did he go to San Fran? And then like even like I said it out loud, and then my girlfriend's just like, what happened? I'm just like, Correa went to the Mets. She's like, who's Correa? Like, she only knows Blue Jay players, and then I'm just like, oh, you don't get it. And then I did more like deep dive into it, and she's like, the dude like failed his physical, and for a team to like pull out that fast, like it has to be pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. And like I personally, I really like San Francisco. So when I saw that they had signed him, I'm like, oh yes, like that's pretty big time. And like you said, Nick, I just like wake up one day and I see, going to the Mets. I'm like, what the fuck happened? Like, don't get me wrong, Conforto's big for the Giants. I think that's a really good pickup for them. But I mean, Correa is a guy that I think you could probably rely on a little more offensively than Conforto. But yeah.
I don't know. The Giants have gotten the shit end of the stick. They were supposed to be in on Judge, and I really do believe it was down to them in New York.
Yeah.
No, and I think he used the leverage from the Giants to get that Yankee deal, because the Yankees weren't going to pay that. And then the whole Correa stuff. So they had to settle for, I mean, it's not really settling. Conforto's a nice player, but they settled for Conforto and some of the other small moves they made.
Yeah.
So
Can we just take in? Okay, so going back to Jays, when we were saying we were all in class and then we heard Teo got traded, we instantly said we're getting Judge, or if not, Verlander. And then look where they are.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Judge was a long shot, but then I had like little part of me, which is like, oh, well, we can probably get Verlander because we're looking for pitching.
we were rumored.
Yeah, we were rumored. Well, because like even before last season when he was a free agent, he said it was hit us and the Astros, I think, that were his top two. So we thought like, oh, he's gonna try his chances here because he already won a World Series. But I think the guy's money chasing still. So
Yeah, but then he ends up winning another World Series. So
Yeah.
That's why him going back to the Astros, I mean, you want a World Series. It's like that's the main goal here. But guys like Correa, I fully think that guy's just money chasing. The guy's going team to team. You know, the guy signed like what with the Mets? Is it the same deal with the Giants? Was it like 13 years?
Exact same deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's crazy by the Mets, but you know, when you do shit like that, you better go all the way. And if you don't, then like if I'm a Mets fan and we don't make it to the World Series next year, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, I mean, with a lineup like theirs, it would be a bit outrageous. But then again, like you could say the same thing about the Padres. Like they have star-studded lineups, but it doesn't necessarily mean like that they're going to make it that far.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like out in Texas signing DeGrom. They actually think they have a winning formula there? No, they're still going to suck.
Of course.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Texas. Like they're kind of loading up now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, baseball, it's not one of those sports, man, where one, two, even three guys are going to make a difference. I mean, look at the fucking Angels, man. You have one of the greatest players of all, two of like the greatest players of all time on your team, and these guys don't even make the playoffs. So like, what is DeGrom going to Texas really going to do for them?
Are we? Is it trade for Ohtani still on during the trade deadline? Is that still possible?
I think he's gonna. If anything, he's gonna sign with the Dodgers.
Yeah. I think realistically, it's guys are. Yeah, it's like Mo said. Any of those big name guys, the first teams they're gonna want to be looking at are like the Dodgers, the Yankees, like even the Red Sox. Man, like most players aren't. It's unfortunate, man, and it's just like it's a Toronto thing. No American athletes. I know he's not American, but most athletes don't want to play in Canada.
No one wants to play for Canada. Yeah. Like any sport that it's just like hockey, or not hockey, baseball and like basketball. The only like two sports that only have one Canadian team. Like especially basketball, man. No one's gonna want to come here and play. Basketball.
They had to be traded.
Yeah. Like Kawhi, he didn't want to come here, and then he just got traded. And it's like same thing with baseball. And it's like when you see guys like I'm surprised Kiermaier is like so excited to play for us. Like I don't know if you like see his like tweets and everything where he's like posting his kids and they're like in Blue Jays jerseys already and he's saying how he's so hyped to come here. It's like I love that type of shit, but it's like it's so rare to find someone like that loves like I think you like everyone that gets traded here or signs here, they're first expecting like I'm playing just for like another country, whatever. And then once they get that like full experience of like our fan base and everything, then they love it. Like that's what happened to like Kyle Lowry going to like basketball.
Yeah. I think like nowadays, I think it is nowadays that more players are willing to play here purely because of the fan base.
Yeah.
I think it's just a lot of players have said the main reason they don't like doing it is because of like dealing with like customs and all that shit, which like it makes sense, right? Like I can understand that, but like, fuck, man, like you guys are professional athletes, like, you're dealing with customs, like big fucking deal, like.
Yeah.
Well, I think also like. Wouldn't you be happy though, coming from Tampa Bay? Like, come on.
Oh, Tampa's an armpit, man. Of course, yeah.
I would be looking for every opportunity to get out of there, and he did. So
of course, you're going from the worst stadium in the league to the second worst stadium in the league.
Yeah. And like going back to that, like no players want to play for Toronto. It's so sad. Like going to hockey now, it's just like no one wants to play for the Leafs just because of like our like record of like playoffs, like how we can never make it out of the first round.
Yeah.
And it's like honestly, like if like I know you guys aren't as big as hockey fans as I am, but like you know how like when you go wherever, like if the Yankees are on the road, there's so many Yankee fans everywhere.
Oh yeah.
That's the same thing. That's the same thing with the Leafs, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like a lot of people like to sign with the Yankees because of its legacy and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a good chance of winning, but the Leafs, it's just like we have the same thing, but no one just wants to play for us because of like our like history.
Yeah,
it's history and it's media, right? Like we have our media is really bad to deal with, so I get it. But the custom thing isn't even that bad. So what? You're an athlete. You probably go to the front of the line and check your shit. And then you're in the country. Like I think they overreact with that stuff.
I swear, hold on. I swear, like most Americans don't even realize like how Canada is. Like they full on think that like we live in like igloos and shit. Cause like I swear there was like some athletes that like came to when they played for Canada, they were like, oh, it wasn't like how I expected. It's like New York. And I'm like,
yeah,
but you expect it to
be. They definitely, and I think they always expect it to be like freezing cold all the time.
Yeah,
and whatever. We could go into the American education system and talk about that shit for hours, but we're here to talk about baseball.
Yeah.
To keep talking about these big MLB moves, I don't know how we didn't bring it up, and I think this is one of the biggest team pickups overall is the Cubs signing Dansby Swanson, Cody Bellinger, and Eric Hosmer.
Yeah, Cubs are beefing a little bit. They're beefing up a little bit.
Yeah, and the Cubs obviously have been kind of shit the last couple of years
since like 2016.
Pretty much since they won the World Series. It's like, man, it's like they got rid of Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, like, and I'm thinking like they're just like what are they doing? This is a definition of a rebuild. And now they're picking up Bellinger and Swanson and Hosmer. And it's like, whoa, you're kind of thinking like, okay, now I wouldn't like Rizzo, Hosmer. I'd say it's a pretty equal kind of thing. Bellinger, he's inconsistent, but we know what he can do when he's on, like, when he's turned on. Like, there's no doubt. Dansby Swanson, I think this guy still has a very high ceiling.
Swanson, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm a big Dansby Swanson fan. I think that this is a guy who will always produce. I think he'll have a few superstar seasons, but I think he will always just be consistently good. Like, I think he'll be consistently good more than he'll be like great kind of thing.
No, yeah, I agree with you on that. Like, I think the Cubs they definitely made moves, and you're looking at the players that they picked up besides Dansby Swanson, but like these are guys that are like, in my opinion, are still good, but the teams that they were on didn't really give them a chance. Like, they were kind of more like a bench player, you know? And they're kind of like how Merrifield was, you know, how we were saying like how you give the guy the playing time and he's going to produce. I think it's the exact same thing with like Bellinger and Hosmer too. And did they pick up any pitching or not really?
Not that I saw. Not
last season they grabbed former Jay little man that was in New York.
Stroman.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Stroman.
That was like last season though.
Yeah.
But did they lose Wilson Contreras?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they lost Contreras, right?
He went to the rival team.
He got the fuck out of there, but
they're still not better than the Cardinals. Even though the Cardinals are way better, above and beyond.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Than the Cubs? Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. Another big move. Philly picked up Kimbrel and Trey Turner.
Trey Turner. Forgot about
Trey Turner and Bryce Harper going to be playing on the same team again. It might be a hot take, but I think Trey Turner's the best shortstop in baseball right now.
I agree with that right now. Yeah, I agree with that right now.
This guy is fuck, man. Like he's a guy who I think gets close to like a 5-tool player. Maybe he's not a crazy power guy, but this is a guy who's hitting over 300. He's a sound defensive shortstop. I mean, he's one of the best runners in the league. He can play small ball. He can hit he hits the gaps. He can hit home runs. In my opinion, I put him like a top 10 guy in the league even. I think that's a big pickup for them. Kimbrel, I mean, he's not what he used to be, but I think he's not.
He's going downhill slowly.
Yeah, but I think Trey Turner is a massive pickup for Philadelphia.
Yeah, going to you about saying like how he's like top 10. I agree with that, but I feel like he's at the same time underrated.
I know exactly what you mean.
Like a lot of people disregard like him. Like when they think of shortstops, automatically they think of like Tatis or like Bo, and it's like, what the hell? Yeah, like Trey Turner, man, and he's like has to be like up there, and that's why I feel like he's a little underrated because people like you said, he's not a big guy. He's a small guy that can still hit bombs sometimes, but he's not like a heavy hitter. And I think just because like nowadays a lot of people just look at the long ball, right? So it's just when they think of like best shortstop, they think of guys that can hit home runs like Tatis.
Tatis, exactly.
Yeah, so I agree with you on that. That like Trey is definitely like a huge pickup for them.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm looking now. Sorry, he hit 21 home runs and batted 298. A career batting average 302. Like man. A shortstop who is hitting home runs and for contact, like it doesn't get better than that.
Are the Phillies better than the Braves? With this move,
I'm trying to think. Did the Braves?
Wait. Who did the Braves pick up again?
I don't really think they've done much. They've done some. They made the trade with Oakland for that catcher. What's his name? Kelly, not Kelly.
I know who you're talking about. I forget his name as well.
And they just signed him to a big deal.
Yeah. That's a really tough one. Because I'm trying to think who.
Well, put it this way. It's a three-headed it's a three-headed race in that division.
Yeah.
You've got the Mets, you've got the Phillies, and you've got the Braves. With what's happened so far, who is the better team in your opinion? Who's going to win that division?
I think right now Phillies. Like I think they're stocking
Bryce
up.
Harper, because Harper's not coming back till the All-Star break.
Oh fuck, you're right.
Oh, I forgot about that too.
forgot.
I'm gonna say the Mets then, honestly.
Yeah, probably the Mets. On paper, right now their team is loaded. On paper,
Yeah.
right? So it's like I have to go with the Mets. But like with Bryce healthy, the Phillies are also loaded too. Like that whole division is gonna be like basically how the AL East was. Like
I think it's one of if not the best divisions in the
I just don't think
right now.
I just don't think the Phillies make it to the World Series again with Trey Turner. It's 11 years. It's 11 years. You're getting him at age 30, 29,
That's
30.
true.
Yeah.
Good team. They're gonna do some damage. They'll make the playoffs. I just don't see them going back to the dance. And they went to the dance this season with a lesser team.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Other big signings, I'd say Abreu to Houston. And then
that was one of the first. That was one of the first moves.
Oh yeah, Brady to Houston. That's a good pickup for them too. He's not bad.
And then Benintendi and Clevenger to the White Sox.
Benintendi, he's kind of on and off for me.
I was gonna say very inconsistent.
Yeah.
I don't see the White Sox having like a standout season for a little bit still. I think that the White Sox do have very underrated players, especially a guy like Tim Anderson. I think is a very underrated player in the MLB.
Oh, Tim Anderson's underrated. I forgot about it too.
Yeah, but again, like, one guy isn't going to make a difference for a team. They obviously signed, oh my God, who is the catcher? They signed the one catcher for a ton, and he just had a horrific year with them. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, the White Sox I can't see having a good year for a little while still.
Yeah, like Clevenger, I remember he's honestly not that bad. Like I wouldn't mind having him on the Jays, but I don't think just him alone is gonna turn that team around or take them further up. Like honestly, they're kind of like I want to say they're kind of like us, where we have like the pieces, we just can't. We still need something to like get us over,
Yeah. It was Monty Grandal.
So Grandal.
Yeah, he was a bust for them. But yeah, I agree. Those are pretty much all the biggest moves I could think of. Again, like JD Martinez and Syndergaard to the Dodgers as well. I don't know about that. I mean, these are both guys who I think are past their prime. They're still good players, but I don't know if they'll make a huge impact in LA.
Yeah, right.
They're just depth moves, I think, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dodgers, the Dodgers do Dodger things, so you don't have to worry about them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still time. There's still free agents out there, so
they're still gonna choke in the NLCS. So
yeah, but you know what? They still won their World Series.
Yeah, but like after how many times they went, like to the NLCS, they were basically like the Green Bay Packers. So I guess to win their first one, or not their first one, but what was that, 2020?
Yeah.
It's like that was kind of a long coming. Like they were in the playoffs, like in the NLCS, like every year, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they also got screwed over too. So, I mean, that can be a different topic for a different day.
Yeah, for a different day.
Anyways, so I think we should move on now to the GM hat. So this is basically if we were putting ourselves in the position of general manager for the Blue Jays, these are the moves that we would have made in the offseason. Mo, could you start us off with what you would have done?
Okay, so I would have held off on maybe Moreno and kept him.
Mm-hmm.
This is before the Varsho trade, and I would have probably sent Danny Jansen for Liam Hendricks.
Oh,
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done.
I completely, I obviously didn't forget about Jansen, but I didn't even think of him in trade options because he's if you're including Moreno, he is the Jays' third catcher if Moreno's to be on the roster. And I guess I just didn't think like, oh, who's going to want to pick up the third catcher? And Danny Jansen, like, he actually had a pretty good season last year.
That was his best season, probably.
Yeah, for sure. And don't get me wrong, his best season is probably still below average.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he matches, man.
Yeah, he did hit pretty well. Yeah, no, Mo, I think that I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's a good one.
I remember someone was like talking about that same thing with Liam Hendriks, and I forgot about it. And then you brought it up. I'm like, oh yeah, that would have been good.
He's been with us before. It's a power arm, and there's nothing wrong with having a 1A, 1B closer duo like in the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other things that you think you would have done?
That one stands out to me. I mean, I'm always a believer in pitching. Like, if you have the pitching, you can do so much damage. Your bats can only get you so far. And as you guys saw in the playoffs, 8-1 lead evaporated and we ended up losing. It's because we had bad pitching, bad bullpen pitching. So that one for me, I think that's where I would put my foot down and say, yeah, that one would help us immensely. But I mean, we made the Varsho trade. That pretty much that one. That is where I would be focusing. And then, like I was saying, maybe another lefty starter, but I don't know who's available right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of like the same with me with the whole Varsho trade. Like, I think if you're gonna give away Moreno and Gurriel, give me at least like a pitcher, for some depth. And if you were gonna give away both for one, like, you probably could have got someone better. I don't know who, but that's just how I was feeling in the moment and how I still kind of feel now. I do like that Liam Hendriks idea because it was something that came across my mind too. I just forgot about it, like I said, so you brought it up. But other than that, I think we'll still be fine. I'm still excited for how it's going to turn out. What about you, Eric? Do you have any moves?
Yeah. Again, I think that getting rid of both Gurriel and Moreno for Varsho was very bold. And I don't know, like, maybe, again, this is something that could be like a hot take from me, but maybe they could have tried to do a Kirk and a Gurriel for Varsho. And again, like, I gave Kirk like high praise at the beginning of this, but his longevity is, I don't think his longevity is there. You obviously have a guy like Moreno, and yeah, okay. So for Varsho, I think that Kirk, it either should have been Kirk, Gurriel, or just Moreno. For just if you're just getting Varsho out of it. But yeah, to your point, for Moreno and Gurriel, they should have also been getting a pitcher as well. So. There's just so many different moves that I would have probably done.
I think everyone thought that though, like when they saw that, or it was rumored that we were gonna give away Gurriel and Moreno. Like, I think everyone thought like Varsho and somebody like a pitcher for depth.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if Arizona would have taken Kirk and Gurriel for him, but I think that would have been, in my personal opinion, I think that would have been a better move. I don't know if maybe they didn't do it because they just didn't think that Kirk would be enough to get a guy like Varsho, or if they maybe did it as a media thing because he obviously had such a good year. He was probably one of the hottest names on the Blue Jays this year. Obviously, like with the first ballot All-Star, all that. Yeah, I don't know. I would have just preferred to have Moreno over Kirk, or to your point, not get rid of Gurriel, or if you're getting rid of Gurriel and Moreno, just getting more out of the trade.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so I got
one more. Sorry, I got one more. Yeah. One more move. I'd probably look at Peralta as your fourth outfielder, and it's a lefty bat.
Yes. Yes. I do think that I was thinking about Peralta earlier as well. I know he's had some very good years. I don't know how he did last season.
He was so-so.
I think he was just a pretty like average, pretty average. But yeah, I agree, Mo. I think that could have been a good pickup. And would have you rather had him as a fourth outfielder or Kiermaier?
I mean, I'd rather Kiermaier for defensive purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe like you can still use Peralta because you did your 2-for-1 trade, and he can maybe be a DH or place him right on an off day.
Yeah.
So you can still sign him, but no, I would take Kiermaier just strictly on defense, his defensive prowess.
Yeah.
Our outfield's kind of stacked right now if you think about it. Like with Varsho at left, Kiermaier at center, and Springer at right. Like that's pretty held down, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Defensively, that is a very good outfield, and even like offensively, because I do think that Kiermaier will hit better than he has the last season or two. Of course, again, I personally don't think that he's obviously not going to replace Teoscar offensively, and
No.
I don't think that he will. I think he'll hit more home runs than Gurriel. I don't know if he'll get on base as much as Gurriel, though.
Interesting take, because I feel like he might.
Mo?
I think you guys should wager on it.
Yeah, put a little money down on it.
We'll come back to this, and then like a couple months in during the season, we'll see how it goes. And
Yeah.
Clip this right here. This is the first episode.
Yeah.
So okay, before we end the first podcast, since we're on the topic of GMs, I still believe that if we still had Alex Anthopoulos before we got rid of him, I highly believe he would have picked up probably one more superstar. Don't ask me who, but I feel like he would, just because how he produced that 2015-2016 team. I feel like if we got one more player and he was still around, I feel like we would have been in better hands. Like we probably would have been closer to the World Series.
I disagree. He traded away the entire farm system.
I know, but like just looking at like how his like mentality was, he kind of gave that like 92-93 like vibe. You know, he didn't care. He just picked up players now that are in it now to win, and that's what I felt was that's what he was doing in those 2 years. That's why I feel like if he picked up one more, we probably could have been taken, you know, to the World Series, maybe even further again. And if not, then hey, then that's when you rebuild. But like, what after he left, did he go to the Dodgers? Or
no, the Braves. He went straight to the Braves.
Wasn't it Dodgers then Braves?
I'm pretty sure
because isn't he on the Braves now?
Yeah, he's the GM for the Braves.
Yeah, so I think he went to the Dodgers first, and then he took the Dodgers to the World Series. And
no,
then,
I don't think that's right, but you can check it. I think he went straight to the Braves.
Eric fact checked.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm pretty sure he went to the Dodgers.
Sorry, say his name again.
If I'm wrong, I owe you a glizzy on my guy.
What's his
Alex Anthopoulos.
Yep, Alex.
But I know, going back to your question, you can only get so many superstars before it like sizzles and blows up big time. And as you saw with the guys he acquired, like Tulo, JD, Joey Bats, those guys were on the minus Donaldson. Those guys are on the wrong side of 30. And Encarnacion, like those guys were on the wrong side of 30. And look what happened to the team. It just like slowly disintegrated, and we had to rebuild. So I think, and with that, I don't think we would be where we're at if he had stayed. We would have traded one or two, either Bo or Vladdy, to get that superstar. And you know what I mean? I like, don't get me wrong, I hate our GM, and I'm not a fan of our.
Me too. Like I hate Shadkins, but
yeah, I'm not a fan of the guys who run the Jays at all. I think they're penny pinchers, but at the same time, they know how to like fill the cupboards with young talent, and you know, young talent you can always position itself if you need to make that big move. So I think that's what they've done very well. I just think Anthopoulos doesn't care about that. It's just like, get me what I need now. And sometimes that works. He won it with the Braves, like good on him, right? But most
that's
of the time,
thing.
it doesn't.
Like when he went to the Braves, it happened like instantly. Like
It
he
took a
like
little time.
like I think
It took a
his
little
like just
time.
his like strategy is better than Atkins, Shapiro. Like they're our GMs, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd rather have AA over those two bums any day. But he's reckless, right? He's a reckless GM, and that's a good thing when you are like that close and you need that mover too.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that can crash and burn quickly as well, and that's what it did here.
Yeah. So I hate to break it to you, Mo, but Nick was right. He did go to the Dodgers before Atlanta.
Oh snap!
He was there. He was there for one season.
And then he was the GM of the Braves.
Yeah, so he was LA for 2016-17 season.
Okay.
Then he went to the Braves after. Yeah.
I hope you like footlongs.
Love them. Eric, you have a take on that or not really?
No, honestly, I was looking up stuff. I was barely listening.
But do you think like our GMs are a bum or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Come on now.
I think everyone thinks that, all the Jays fans, and you know he's made some good moves now, but I don't know. I won't believe it until we have that World Series. So
Yeah, I don't have faith in Atkins or Shapiro.
yeah, I mean, like I just look back at the team that they had. They had what? They were with Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
And then the minute they left Cleveland, where did Cleveland go? The World Series. So it's like, it's hard, man. It's hard.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Indeed what she said. Anyways, I think this is a good time to just close out the first pod. And boys, we did it. It's starting. After like how many like months? Like Eric, this originally started like me and Eric had this idea of a baseball podcast. What, like beginning of like the semester?
Yeah, I'd say it was probably September, like end of September, early October. Yeah.
And then now it just started now.
January.
I guess we just said fuck it. We're going balls deep and we're doing this now. So
yeah.
This is it for the first episode of Going Yard, and we'll see you in the next one, episode 2.